searched and searched for Adam, and we haven't found a body, so everybody thinks he's alive. We do too.
Adam Walsh, a 6-year-old American boy, was tragically taken from the Sears department store at the Hollywood Mall in Hollywood, Florida, on July 27, 1981. On that day, Adam and his mother, Rave Drew, went on a shopping to the Hollywood Mall, now known as Hollywood Hills Plaza, in Hollywood, Florida. Their first stop was Sears, which they entered through the north entrance. While his mother was making inquiries about a discounted lamp, Adam was left at a kiosk displaying an Atari 2600 video game, where several other boys were also taking turns playing. Rave completed her business in the lamp department and left around 12:15 p.m. Upon her return, she found that Adam and the other boys were nowhere to be found. Upon questioning the store manager, she learned that a scuffle had broken out over the kiosk, and a security guard had asked the older boys if their parents were present. They had replied in the negative, leading the guard to escort them out of the store through the Sears West entrance. Adam's parents later speculated that their son may have been too shy to speak up to the security guard, who assumed he was with the older boys and escorted him out of the store along with them. Adam's parents speculate that he may have been left alone outside the store, disoriented by an unfamiliar exit after the other boys dispersed. While searching for him in the toy store department, Rave Drew paged him over the public address system and continued to scour the store for him. In a fortuitous turn of events, she ran into her mother-in-law, Jean, who assisted her in searching for Adam. However, despite 90 minutes of concerted effort to find him, their search and page attempts were futile. Consequently, Rave contacted the Hollywood police at 1:55 p.m. On August 10, a severed head was reportedly discovered in a drainage canal near Vero Beach, approximately 130 miles, 210 kilometers, away from Hollywood. Detective Ralph E. Latimer, an unidentified deputy from the Indian River Country Sheriff's Office, and street Lucy County divers scoured the canal in search of clues. On August 11th, John and Rev made a national television appearance, expressing their continued hope for Adam's safe return and announcing a reward of $298,060 for any information that would lead to his whereabouts.
We'd appreciate anyone with any information about him or have seen him or think they saw him to please call the Hollywood police.
However, their hopes were soon dashed as the recovered remains were identified as Adam's. After a thorough investigation, the police concluded that Adam had been abducted by a drifter named Otis Toole near the front exterior of Sears, shortly after being asked to leave by a security guard. Toole confessed to luring Adam into his white 1971 Cadillac, which had a damaged right bumper, with promises of toys and candy. He then proceeded to drive north on Interstate 95 towards his home in Jacksonville. According to Toole, he claimed that first docile and complaint and began to panic as they drive on. Toole claimed to have punched him in the face and walloped him unconscious. He claimed to have driven north to Florida Turnpike to a deserted service road just north of the Rayball Road overpass in Northwest Street, Lucy County. Toole claimed that when he discovered that Adam was still breathing, he strangled him to death with the seat belt, dragged him out of the car, and decapitated him with a machete. Toole asserted that he incinerated the body in a discarded refrigerator upon his return to Jacksonville. He also claimed that he had wanted to adopt Adam, but it was deemed unfeasible. Although the police were unable to identify the origin of the blood discovered in Toole's car, they maintained that they lost the blood-stained carpet, the machete purportedly utilized to decapitate Adam, and even the vehicle itself. Toole, who was a close associate of convicted serial killer Henry Lee Lucas, gave inconsistent and subsequently retracted statements regarding his participation in the crime. Despite providing seemingly accurate descriptions of how he committed the crime, Toole was never charged in Adams' case, according to the investigation. He did, however, confess to several cases in which he had no involvement, and he died in prison at age 49 from cirrhosis, while serving a life sentence for other crimes. Toole's niece later claimed that he had made a death confession to Adams' murder and told John Walsh about it. However, given that Toole and Lucas had confessed to or implicated themselves in more than 200 homicides, his confession was deemed unreliable. Furthermore, most of Lucas' confessions were later discovered to have been false, as they had been coerced by the Texas Ranger. After John's book was released, Hollywood Police Chief Rick Stone reviewed Adams' case thoroughly in 1997. At that time, Stone was a veteran of the police departments in Dallas, Texas, and Wichita, Kansas, with 22 years of experience, and he had just been appointed as the chief of police in Hollywood the previous year. Despite the fact that the crime had occurred 16 years prior, Stone analyzed the evidence and reviewed taped interrogations of Toole by Hollywood detective Mark Smith. According to Stone, his review yielded evidence beyond a reasonable doubt that Toole was responsible for Adams' murder. Stone also observed that both Toole and Lucas had a reputation for confessing to crimes they committed and later retracting their statements. In 2007, widespread allegations claimed that Jeffrey Dahmer, a man who had been arrested in Wisconsin in 1991 after killing over a dozen men and boys, was also a suspect in the murder of Adam Walsh. Dahmer's father had called the Americans' Most Wanted hotline soon after his son's arrest to report his belief that his son was a pedophile. At the time of Adam's murder, Dahmer was living in Miami Beach, and 2 eyewitnesses claimed to have seen him at the mall on the day that Adam was abducted. One of the witnesses saw a strange man entering the toy department, while the other witnessed a young blonde man with a protruding chin throwing a struggling child into a blue van and speeding off. Both witnesses identified the man they saw as Dahmer when pictures of him were released in newspapers after his arrest. Reports also revealed that the delivery shop where Dahmer worked had a blue van at the time. However, when questioned about Adam Walsh's case in 1992, Dahmer repeatedly denied his involvement in the crime, stating, "I've told you everything. How I killed them, how I cooked them, who I ate. Why wouldn't I tell you if I did it to someone else?" Despite the allegations, John Walsh, Adam's father, stated that he had not seen any evidence linking Adam's abduction and murder to those committed by Dahmer. On December 16, 2008, Chad Wagner, the police chief of Hollywood, announced the closure of the case in the presence of his friend John. The police conducted an external review of the case and stated that they were satisfied with Toole being identified as the murderer. Following the tragic loss of his son Adam, John Walsh became a strong advocate for victims of violent crimes. He hosted 2 television programs, namely American Most Wanted and later In Pursuit of Adam Walsh. Premiering on October 10, 1983, the television film Adam was based on the kidnapping and murder of Walsh's son. The film was highly successful and attracted 38 million viewers on its first airing. Each of the 3 broadcasts in 1983, 1984, and 1985 was followed by pictures and descriptions of missing children. In addition, a hotline was established to receive calls that could lead to potential leads for investigators. The pictures and hotline were credited with finding 13 of the 55 missing children shown. Furthermore, American rapper Bizzy Bone was reunited with his mother after a babysitter recognized his photo during the broadcast, as he was abducted by his stepfather as a child. In 1984, The Missing Children's Assistance Act was passed by the US Congress, in part due to the advocacy of parents like the Walshes who had experienced the disappearance of their child. Adam Walsh, who was one such child, is commemorated through the Code Adam program, which assists in finding lost children in department stores. On July 25, 2006, the US Congress passed the Adam Walsh Protection and Safety Act, which was signed into law by President George W. Bush 2 days later at a ceremony attended by John and Reve Walsh on the south lawn of the White House. This legislation established a national database of convicted child molesters, increased penalties for violent and sexual offences against children, and included a ratio cause of action for individuals who conspire with child predators. The Adam Walsh Reauthorization Act of 2016 was included in the Survivors' Bill of Rights Act of 2016, H.R. 5578. This act provided financial allocations to maintain the programs established in the 2006 legislation and was signed into law by President Obama on October 7, 2016.